Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We're now going live to Lokoja, Kogi State, where Arise News correspondent Nissi Gabriel joins us now for updates on the elections at the Collation Center. Good morning, Nissi.
Yeah, good morning, Tondo. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
Very well, better than good.
It's been quite an eventful 24 hours. Can you bring us up to date with the latest developments with the Kogi elections?
All right, right now as I speak to you, I'm at the INEC headquarters in Kogi State. If you can look around behind me, you can see a huge security presence right there in Kogi State. Men of the Nigeria Police Force and other security agencies are fully prepared, ready for the collation exercise that will soon kickstart at 9 a.m. this morning. So the Commissioner of Police for Kogi State just left here. He just came around to check how prepared his men are to receive the results from all the polling units and how soon they can kickstart the collation any moment from now. So right now as I speak to you, the atmosphere around INEC headquarters is fully secured. All the men of the Nigeria Police Force, they are prepared, and any moment from now, in less than an hour or more, the collation exercise will kickstart. Actually, as at last night, we actually thought we'll be able to receive the results at the collation room at the INEC hall here. But we had there were pockets of violence at some quarter, most especially at Ajaokuta. There were riots, so most of the results could not get to the state capital in good time as at yesterday night. So this morning we are hopeful, and we are from the information we have gathered and from what INEC has communicated to us, they say at 9 a.m. this morning, the collation exercise will kickstart. So, right, if you can look around the INEC headquarters, so the men of the Nigeria Police Force, they are all fully prepared and ready to begin this exercise by 9 a.m. Tondo.
Thank you, Nissi.
Thank you, Nissi. Can you share with us your exact location at this moment? Because there were some rumors about saying that the exact location of the collation center was yet to be known.
The exact location for the collation exercise today is at the Lokoja capital of Kogi State at INEC headquarters right there in Lokoja State. And the collation exercise will be taking place at Professor Mahmoud Yakubu Hall right inside INEC building. So that's where the exercise will commence. So as far as I'm concerned, where the collation exercise will take place is known, and everyone are waiting for INEC to come down here with all the results they've gathered so far for the collation exercise to begin. Tundo.
Thank you, Nissi. Now, before the elections, INEC feared a bloodbath, and that is the specific word that they used. Thankfully, even though sporadic violence was reported, that fell short of that term, bloodbath. But what was your assessment of the level of violence that occurred? What were the areas that it occurred in? And what did it look like? Who was involved in the violence? You also mentioned that there was a riot in Ajaokuta. Can you tell us more about that?
Well, as at yesterday, there were pockets of violence, just as I said earlier, and it's actually so disappointing that those violence occurred, because those violence were aimed at undermining this electoral process, which many expected ought to be different from what we had previously, like in the likes of Kano State at the governorship election there. So yesterday, there are lots of violence at Lokoja Ward 2, even in the state capital, sporadic gunshots, armed thugs who were camouflage dressed like policemen. They came around snatching ballot boxes, collecting phones of INEC ad hoc staff. And as far as I'm concerned, at Crowder School, one of the popular polling units in Lokoja State, 3 persons died. So it's so unfortunate and disappointing that at this level, political actors are yet to understand what it means to have a free, fair, and credible election. So there were pockets of violence in Kogi State, even at Okehi local government, where the SDP governorship candidate is from, Natasha Akpoti. Earlier, as at yesterday, at the early hours of yesterday, thugs came to polling units 011, throwing stones at voters, trying to intimidate voters, trying to oppress voters. Even in some other places, Ajaokuta, for instance, a journalist who works with a leadership newspaper was harassed almost at the point of death. If not, it took the intervention of men of the Nigeria Police Force to actually rescue the whole situation. So it's quite unfortunate that these things are happening. And I also witnessed one, which it's so unfortunate, I must say, Tondo. It's quite unfortunate.
Sounds absolutely dreadful, totally condemnable.
Can you share with us the violence that you experienced?
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Gabriel, can you share with us the violence that you experienced?
Yeah, the violence I experienced was at a crowd at the Lokoja state capital, because immediately I left Okene local government. I was on ground at Okene local government to actually witness Yaya Bello cast his vote. So immediately I left Okene local government. I went to Okehi local government area where the SDP governorship candidate, Natasha Akpoti, I had to wait for her to observe the whole process right there. So immediately I left Okehi, I came back to Lokoja, which is the state capital of Kogi State. And I was on ground at Crowder. There's a school called Crowder School here at Lokoja State. And before you could know it, men just came with hillocks and they started shooting sporadically in the air. So for over 6 minutes, 7 minutes, I must say. So everyone had to take cover. Before we could know it, or before we could even lift our heads up, after 6 minutes, the whole ballot boxes were nowhere to be found. The phones of some INEC ad hoc staff were nowhere to be found. 3 people had already died at the spot. And it was quite unfortunate, I must say. Not actually a good sight to behold, because it was so scary.
It absolutely must have been. I'm thankful that you're safe.
Now,
we've talked a lot about the governorship elections. Can we just have an update on what happened in Kogi West Senatorial District? That's the election in which has been contested by Senator Dino Melaye and Senator Smart Adeyemi. Any updates on that?
Yeah, on Kogi West Senatorial District, the election, we also recorded pockets of violence there as well. One person was confirmed dead in that senatorial district. And also, harassment of a journalist who works with the cable was also witnessed at that particular senatorial district. Because, to be honest with you, Tundu, it seems like this election is a do-or-die affair for these politicians, and they are so desperate. So we recorded, it got to a point, I must say, that journalists were not even allowed close to the polling units to take coverage, to take picture, because as soon as you're observed doing that, you don't know what might happen to you next. It got to that point. The whole atmosphere was really tense. Everyone's scared. You don't know what might happen. And we recorded issues of vote buying as well. Even as low as 500 naira. People were exchanging their votes for money as low as 500,000 naira. That's to show you how bad things are in Kogi State. From 500 naira down to 3,000 and 5,000 naira. It's even got to some points whereby we understand that the PDP were actually leading at those locations, and the other political party came offering 5,000 naira. And most of the electorate there were not ready to collect. And if you don't collect, they come and disrupt the whole process. Thugs will come and disrupt the whole process. So both sides of the divides are actually involved in these skirmishes. So it's just so bad, Tundu.
Thank you so much, Nissi Gabriel, for that report from Kogi State. Stay safe, Nissi, and we'll check on you later. Now, monitored reports from across Kogi and Bayelsa state elections yesterday centered around low voter turnout and violence, with allegations of rigging made by several members of opposition parties, even as voters remained optimistic. Joining us now for post-election analysis is Dr. Sunday Adejo, Public Affairs Analyst and Lecturer of Political Science and Diplomacy at Veritas University. But let's take a look at some of the scenes that occurred in Kogi and Bayelsa states.
I enjoy tremendous support from fellow Kogites, especially indigenous of Kogi Central, who are willing to come out and cast their votes and ensure my victory today. But on the other hand, there's been recorded violence. I've been ready for the past 2 hours, dressed up to come cast my vote. But each time I tried to step out of the house, there were sporadic gunshots. We've had so many polling unit agents, SDP agents that were being attacked. Some have been harassed. Some have been arrested by fake policemen. I say arrested because on one hand, the men that picked them up were actually uniformed. On the other hand, we made calls to all the police stations in this vicinity, but there's feigned ignorance of arresting any. So we're actually worried where they are, our SDP agents. But coming back today, I was able to muster enough security agents to accompany me to my polling unit. And as you all saw, I was accredited right. Well, my card read right, and my thumbprint recognized right. But what happened was the INEC officer ticked the Presidential National Assembly box as against the governorship box. And later on, he further...
I've just voted orderly, and the voting process orderly, and everything is going on peacefully. However, I have reports of pockets of electoral fraud committed by the All Progressives Congress APC, coming on with thugs to hijack electoral materials, denying PDP members from voting. I raised the red flag about Nembe Basambri, and the reports I have is that no PDP agent is allowed to go into Nembe Basambri. At Eneware, the reports I have is that the APC went there with thugs. At Opolo, the reports I have is that the APC went there with thugs. The same goes for other pockets. And so for now, I will stop here. We are monitoring the process. We are calling on the umpire first, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to be alive to their duties, because we have received reports from several other wards and local government areas. And where they need to invoke their powers, they should invoke their powers of either not accepting cooked up results or where materials have been hijacked. Secondly, we call on the security agencies to be alive to their duties and not to take sides with the All Progressives Congress, APC, which are the reports that we have started receiving. Let them be professional in their conduct. Let them be neutral so that the elections will be credible. The elections will be transparent. The elections will be open, so that our party members will not be harassed, will not be intimidated. Thank you. I've just voted orderly, and the voting process orderly, and everything is going on peacefully.
So far, so good. Everybody has been conducting themselves in a peaceful manner. The election has been going on peacefully. His Excellency was earlier in the day, and he has casted his vote and has, informed everybody to go about this election in a peaceful manner. It's not a do or die affair. Everybody is at liberty and has the freedom to vote for the candidate of their choice. No intimidation whatsoever. So we urge everyone to, conduct themselves in a peaceful manner and ensure that these things are, conducted conclusively and in a peaceful manner.
So far, the election has been very peaceful, and people turned out en masse. There have been a very impressive turnout of voters to this election. From what I'm seeing, there have been a very serious presence of security personnel, even in the polling units, even on the road to those polling units. And I know that voters will conduct themselves in this election. And one thing I'm asking is that so that the security personnel will not interfere in the election. And I believe so. For now, every people have been they are conducting themselves to vote. And when you go to most polling units, people have been orderly. Most of them are in the line, following the procedures of one after another to cast their votes.
There's no any cause for alarm here. People are walking majestically, happy, flowing with harmony, and that shows that really somehow we have touched his people in his community. And really, here we see security agents working very effectively. There's no any manipulating or ringing mechanism or sharing of money or anyhow. In fact, here we are expecting such a thing will happen. In fact, here election is here, free and fair and credible. And also we commend the electoral process here. We have already done it And we also thank the INEC. We really performed very wonderful work here in this His Excellency polling unit. And really, with this kind of way that INEC is operating, at least here and there, I believe we have to recommend the INEC for a very good job here. And I can say to Nigerians today, the election that is taking place in this Excellency polling is free and fair and credible. But I cannot emphasize in other area.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. So we're going back to our Arise News correspondent, Nissi Gabriel, who is in Kogi State, covering the elections and the aftermath. Nissi, hello again.
Hi, Tondo.
Hello, Nissi. How are you?
Good to talk to you again.
Thank you, Nissi. So,
Very well.
What is the latest update? Do you have any updates for us from Kogi State?
Yeah, Tundu, as I speak to you now, things are moving so fast right here at the INEC headquarters where the collation exercise will commence anytime from now. Things are moving so fast. INEC officials are coming in their numbers. So any moment from now, we'll see the collation exercise kick-starting. But I've now been joined by Yusuf Shamsuddin, who is actually an election observer right there in Kogi State. He's the principal senior officer for the Center for Democracy and Development, and they have been observing the election as well. So I'll be asking him a couple of questions why he responds to them. Yusuf Shamsuddin, thanks for joining us on Arise News. So the CDD had their observers spread across the 21 local government areas in Kogi State for this election. So what's your observation so far?
I think I would say it's really unfortunate. It's really disheartening that for some years now we've not really been, progressing in the way and manner we've been conducting elections. I think it's important for us to rethink the role of different stakeholders in the conduct of elections in Nigeria. Yes, of course, INEC has the mandate of conducting elections, but INEC in itself cannot ensure that election is credible. INEC needs to provide logistics. There are a lot of challenges with that, which we need to also have a general discussion. But in terms of how the elections were conducted yesterday, it has come. We have come to realize that two things majorly defines the outcome of elections. Unlike when you look at the core principles of elections, one man, one vote, a man goes to elections, votes, and eventually emerge victorious as a result of the choice of the people. But two things defines the outcome of elections in Nigeria: money and thuggery. Those are the two critical factors now in elections. You see a lot of money exchanging hands yesterday, which defeats the whole essence of, not buying votes, which INEC has actually, been quite open, to talking to other agencies that are responsible to curtailing excesses of politicians who are majorly, interested in sharing money on the day of election. The second one is political thuggery. When they know that money is not, couldn't buy vote for them, they need to just unleash mayhem in different polling units, as we experienced yesterday. In Lokoja and Crowder, we experienced a lot of, political thuggery, being deployed to disrupt the voting process. It's like we are taking a step forward and taking 100 steps backward. So it doesn't really make sense. And it's also a matter of how politicians perceive the laws that we have. Our politicians see the reason why it's important for certain provisions in the electoral law, how it's been implemented. So when they have the general perception that election laws can be implemented, they then engage in political activities with a high sense of impunity, because they believe that even if they have to go to court, like I was watching a video a few minutes ago, and one of the key officers of INEC was saying when they came to the collation centers, they wanted to disrupt the entire process. And when he's trying to address the issue, they asked that anybody who lost the election can go to court. It has become a language. Go to court, because they also believe that if they're able to maneuver what is happening, they'll be able to get judgment in the court. So I think our thinking should go beyond going to court to do this. We need to stabilize our electoral process to ensure that there's sanity in that process and ensure that people's vote actually count. See, the word that we use is that it was a total mess up yesterday. There wasn't any election conducted, but a matter of political thuggery, unleashed on voters who came out to vote on the who came out to vote on election day. And I think it's high time that we see it and rethink the role, particularly the political actors in this election. Political actors have important role to play, and because they have this sense that they can do and undo, I think we need to extend our conversation beyond just saying that we want election to be credible.
So sorry to break you short now. So it has gone beyond just signing peace accords.
It has gone beyond that. That's just a paper. And you know, in the lead up to the election, there are a lot of signals, a lot of violence, pocket of violence happening in a lot of places. A lot of reports about, movement of guns, ammunition, mobilization of talks for the purpose of elections. Signing peace accord, they just say it's just symbolic. We sign peace accord, but nothing meaningful we get out of it. It's about having these shared ideas of ensuring that election is credible, and we're conducting a credible election. It's not just about signing peace accord. It has to go beyond paperwork. It has to be like interrogating our social behavior, interrogating our behavior, our perception about how democracy should work. And if we still have the perception of leadership in a democracy that we can take it through guns, definitely nothing will still work. And I think the government, it's high time for the president to really see the need for the government to declare state of emergency in our electoral process.
Well, now let me take you up on INEC, INEC's preparedness for the election in terms of the movement of logistic materials to various polling units and local government areas. How will you assess INEC's performance? Because we also got reports in some areas whereby materials got there late, the election commenced pretty late, and we also saw issues whereby card readers were actually not working at all.
Yeah, I think there's nothing much to say about that, because since the time that smart card reader has been introduced, we've been being confronted with these same challenges of malfunctioning of the card readers. It has become something that we think it's important for us to see how best we'll be able to address that. A lot of proposals have been made by civil society organizations, even the tech companies, on how best we can handle data. I think it's just for INEC to revisit some of these documents and see how meaningful they can engage and ensure that smart card reader work effectively. When you talk about logistics, as much as INEC needs to plan to put in place printing of ballot papers and so on and so forth, mobility is also an issue. When politicians are creating an atmosphere of anxiety, brandishing cutlasses and guns to scare away ad hoc officers, even the movement, and even most of the police officers who were deployed yesterday were deployed without guns. How do you want them to even respond to some of these things? I will tell you, police, the security agencies performed woefully yesterday, because most of these political mayhem that was unleashed on voters were done in the midst of police officers, of security agencies. So I began to think more about why then should we waste money on over 35,000 security agencies who were deployed for the purpose of elections? I'm sure a lot of allowances must have been paid. Billions of naira must have gone into this. It's a waste of money. And it's important for us to look at what can we do to even see. Electoral reform needs to go beyond reforming INEC. Has to go beyond political parties participation. It has to go beyond providing legal frameworks to ensure, because I don't see that our problem goes beyond legal framework. As much as important it is, it goes beyond legal framework, mainly because the law will be there, but implementation of the law is not the one that we have in existence, hasn't really been implemented. So there's a law that says you should not buy votes, you should not do this, you should not do that, but people are doing it, and it become a practice. It was a daylight robbery yesterday. And I think it's important for us to start looking at who are the actors, what role are they playing, how can we strengthen civil society engagement, how can we strengthen the engagement of different actors, what are the more strategic and innovative way to ensure that certain social behavior, I think it's a social behavioral thing. We need to think beyond frameworks. We need to think beyond legal or policy framework. We need to look critically into a long-term approach on how to address behavioral lapses that have become bedeviling the conduct of credible election in this country.
In terms of vote buying, I went to a couple of polling units, and about 3 local government areas, but I didn't see any presence of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. Neither did I see any of the ICPC on the ground. Did you see any?
Actually, none of our reporters reported seeing any. And I wouldn't say perhaps they prefer to hide their identity or not to do that. But the most important thing is that most of the information that we got, even the videos we got about people queuing to collect money, we treated all that at INEC for INEC to see the video and to see what actually is happening in terms of vote buying in the field. And it's just for them to swiftly respond and investigate some of these matters. And they need to conduct critical investigation. When parties are named to be the major perpetrator of this crime, it's important for EFCC to set up panel, I don't know how they will do that, to ensure that these parties, not people who are collecting votes. Yeah, people made themselves available for their vote to be bought. But it's also the circumstances of our environment. People will believe that that is the right time for them to share in the largesse of the society, because politicians have held on to this power for over 4 years, and they've been spending this money. Is an opportunity for them to do that. But if politicians are not coming out to share the money, there is no way people will come out to collect the money. And you see, I think it's total overhauling of the society itself. See, we are not improving. The success we recorded in 2015 has totally retrogressed. Look at the Osun election, the mayhem, the same strategy is being deployed by politicians. Look at Kano supplementary election. Same strategies are being deployed by politicians to win election. And even, the judgment in the court further legitimize these strategies of this politician. I think it's right time for us to start rethinking our approach. I will still insist that we need to declare state of emergency to revive this electoral system. We need to declare that. We need to say the truth. We need to sit down on the table and rethink what kind of leaders we want. And citizens also need to play an important part in this.
Finally, let me take you on this. What's your recommendation for areas where violence actually erupted? Most Situation Room have been calling for cancellation of votes in those areas. So what are you recommending?
I don't think I have any recommendation, because even INEC itself said it in the last election, that areas that we have violence, definitely those areas will record 0 votes. So I don't think it should be a recommendation. It is for INEC to apply the principles they applied in the last election in this particular election.
All right. You've heard from Shamsuddin Yusuf. Thank you very much. That's all we can take right now from Lokoja, the state capital of Kogi State.